Have you ever read a book that didn't just open your mind, but rearranged it completely? One that took what you thought you knew, gently set it aside, and whispered, "There's more, look closer"? That's what queer literature did for me. These weren't just stories with LGBTQ plus characters or themes. These were truths, layered in emotion, contradiction, struggle, love, shame, euphoria, and everything in between. They didn't just educate me about the queer experience, they unsettled my assumptions, shattered my binaries, and illuminated parts of myself I didn't even know were hidden in the dark. Before I started reading queer books, really reading them, I thought I understood what it meant to be open-minded. I believed I knew what queer meant and that I supported the LGBTQ plus community in all the right ways. But something was missing. Representation alone didn't always equal understanding. Knowing about queer people wasn't the same as feeling with them. Walking beside them through the maze of identity, desire, trauma, resilience, and joy. And then came the books. Books that didn't care if I was comfortable. Books that told queer truths with rawness and poetry. Books that weren't there to teach me in a textbook sense, but to invite me, sometimes gently, sometimes forcefully, into the layered, complex, and ever-evolving world of queerness. Some of these stories made me laugh. Others broke my heart. A few cracked open something spiritual inside me. But all of them challenged me in the best way, by expanding my empathy, dissolving my binaries, and making me more human. In this video, I want to share those stories with you, not just the titles, but how they changed me. How they forced me to look deeper at love, gender, identity, shame, and liberation. These books didn't just reflect queer life, they reframed the entire human condition. You don't need to be queer to read these books. But by the end, you might discover something queer within yourself. A softness. A questioning. A breaking of rules you didn't even realize you were following. So come with me beyond the rainbow flag and into the pages where real queerness lives. Messy, magical, revolutionary, and real. Let's dive into the queer books that didn't just tell stories, but told truths. The ones that challenged my understanding and might just change yours too. The Argonauts by Maggie Nelson. The Argonauts is a deeply personal, thought-provoking book that blurs the line between memoir and philosophical essay. Written by poet and writer Maggie Nelson, the book tells the story of her relationship with her gender-fluid partner, Harry Dodge, while exploring big questions about identity, gender, motherhood, queerness, and love. What makes this book truly special is how it mixes personal life experiences with powerful ideas from philosophy, feminism, and queer theory, all written in clear, poetic, and emotional language. Nelson takes her own story and uses it as a doorway to examine how we define ourselves, how we love, and how we change. At the heart of the Argonauts is Maggie's relationship with Harry, who is non-binary and transitioned during their time together. As Harry begins testosterone treatment and undergoes surgery, Maggie herself is going through a huge transformation. She's becoming a mother. These parallel journeys of gender transition and pregnancy are told with care, respect, and emotional depth. Nelson doesn't try to simplify them. Instead, she embraces the messiness, the uncertainty, and the beauty of living in a body and a world that resists neat categories. One of the key themes in the Argonauts is the fluidity of identity. Nelson challenges the idea that people need to fit into fixed boxes, like male or female, gay or straight, mother or artist. She shows how life is more complex than labels allow, and how real freedom comes when we let ourselves live in the in-between spaces. Her writing encourages readers to be open to change and to honor their evolving selves. The book also dives into language and its limits. Nelson talks about how hard it can be to describe queer experiences with words that weren't made for them. She uses quotes from thinkers like Judith Butler and Roland Barthes, but always brings those ideas back to real-life situations. Even if you've never read philosophy before, Nelson makes it feel personal and relatable. The Argonauts is important because it offers a new kind of queer narrative, one that's intellectual and emotional, tender and raw. It doesn't just talk about LGBTQ+ identity from a political angle. It shows the intimate, everyday details of what it means to love, to become a parent, to change your body, to exist in the world as someone queer, and to find joy in that. For many readers, especially those exploring their own gender or sexuality, this book is a lifeline. It says, you don't have to explain everything. You don't have to fit in. You're allowed to be both messy and magnificent. That message alone makes The Argonauts a truly revolutionary and life-changing read. Stone Butch Blues by Leslie Feinberg. Stone Butch Blues is more than just a novel. It's a groundbreaking, deeply emotional story that opened the door for many to understand the struggles of gender non-conforming people, especially before there were words like non-binary or transgender in mainstream conversations. Written by Leslie Feinberg, a proud activist and gender outlaw, the book is often described as one of the most powerful queer novels of all time. At its heart, the book tells the story of Jess Goldberg, a working-class person growing up in the 1950s and 1960s who doesn't fit into the traditional boxes of girl or boy. Jess feels different from a young age, uncomfortable in dresses, bullied in school, and unable to express who they truly are. As Jess grows up, they find comfort and community in the butch/femme lesbian bar culture of the time. But this world is not easy. Police raids, brutal beatings, sexual violence, and constant harassment become part of everyday life for anyone who dares to live openly as a queer person. What makes this novel so important is how honestly and fearlessly it shows the realities of living outside the gender binary, especially in a world that violently enforces it. Jess's journey includes moments of love, identity, survival, and deep pain. To cope with society's constant rejection and danger, Jess decides to begin hormone therapy and live as a man for safety and survival. But this, too, brings confusion, loneliness, and new forms of invisibility. The title itself, Stone Butch Blues, refers to Jess's identity. Stone Butch is a term from lesbian culture that often describes someone who is very masculine presenting, butch, and may feel emotionally or physically shut off, stone, usually as a result of trauma. The book captures that internal conflict. How to live authentically when society forces you to hide, split, or erase parts of yourself just to survive. This book is a love letter to queer resilience. It honors the unsung history of those who came before the modern LGBTQ+ movement, the factory workers, bargoers, activists, and lovers who risked everything for a chance at freedom and selfhood. Feinberg's writing is honest, poetic, and unapologetically political. They wrote not just for recognition, but to empower others like Jess who felt invisible. Stone Butch Blues is important because it speaks to so many aspects of queer identity, gender, sexuality, class, trauma, survival, and chosen family. It challenges us to question the labels we take for granted and to look more closely at how we treat people who don't fit into neat boxes. Even today, decades after its release, this book continues to be a lifeline for LGBTQ+ people searching for representation, truth, and hope. It reminds us that while the world may be cruel, we are not alone, and that every life lived authentically is an act of courage. Ace. What asexuality reveals about desire, society, and the meaning of sex by Angela Chin. Asexuality is not a lack. It's a lens. This is the core message Angela Chin brings to life in her brilliant and thought-provoking book, Ace. What asexuality reveals about desire, society, and the meaning of sex. In simple and relatable language, this book introduces us to a world that many people have never really thought about, the world of asexuality. Asexual people, often called aces, experience little to no sexual attraction. But Chin makes it clear from the start, being asexual isn't about being broken or cold. Instead, it's a valid, diverse, and deeply personal identity that teaches us to rethink everything we've been taught about desire, love, and intimacy. Angela Chin, who is a science journalist and an asexual woman herself, shares her personal journey alongside powerful stories from other aces around the world. Through these real-life voices, she helps readers understand that asexuality isn't just not wanting sex, it's a whole spectrum. Some aces might want romantic relationships, cuddles, or even sex under specific circumstances. Others might not. And that's okay. What matters is consent, comfort, and choice. One of the most important things this book does is question the way society treats sex like it's the most important part of life. Chin gently challenges the cultural belief that to be normal or healthy, you must want sex, crave it, or revolve your identity around it. She explains how this pressure can harm not only aces, but everyone, from people in relationships who feel like they're not having enough sex, to those who feel like something is wrong with them because they don't fit mainstream ideas about desire. This book also tackles important issues like gender roles, consent, dating culture, and expectations in relationships. For example, Chin discusses how women are often expected to give in to men's sexual desires, and how asexual people can help expose these unfair dynamics by simply saying, "No, I don't feel that way," and that's valid. What makes Ace so powerful is that it doesn't just speak to asexual people. It speaks to everyone. It invites readers to pause and ask, why do we assume sex is the goal of every relationship? What does it mean to truly connect with someone? Are we listening to what our own bodies and hearts actually want? In the end, Ace is more than a book about asexuality. It's a book about freedom. The freedom to live life on your own terms, without shame, pressure, or labels that don't fit. Whether you're ace, queer, questioning, or just curious, this book offers deep insights into human connection. It's a warm, wise, and necessary read for anyone who wants to understand others and themselves a little better. All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. All Boys Aren't Blue is a deeply personal and powerful memoir by George M. Johnson, a Black queer writer and activist. The book is a collection of essays that blend storytelling, life lessons, and social commentary, all told through Johnson's honest voice. It gives readers a front-row seat into what it's like to grow up Black and queer in America, with all the struggles, joys, confusion, pain, and beauty that come with it. At its heart, this book is about identity, how we discover who we are, and how hard it can be to live as our true selves when the world around us isn't always welcoming. George shares stories from childhood through young adulthood, covering moments like getting his first haircut, dealing with bullying in school, navigating family relationships, exploring gender expression, and coming out. These moments, though specific to his experience, resonate with many people who have ever felt different, unseen, or misunderstood. One of the most powerful things about this book is its honesty. George doesn't hide the tough parts of his journey. He talks openly about sexual abuse, body shame, racism, and homophobia. But he also talks about joy, the joy of being accepted, the power of chosen family, and the beauty of embracing your full identity. He reminds readers that queer Black kids exist, that they matter, and that their stories deserve to be heard and respected. What makes All Boys Aren't Blue especially important is that it fills a gap in literature. There are many books that talk openly and directly about growing up both Black and queer. George's voice speaks to young people who are searching for representation, people who might not see themselves reflected in mainstream stories. At the same time, the book is written in a way that anyone can understand and learn from, whether they are part of the LGBTQ+ community or not. This book is often used in schools and book clubs because it opens up important conversations about race, gender, sexuality, identity, and mental health. It challenges harmful stereotypes and shows that there is no one right way to be a boy or Black or queer. George's message is clear. You are valid, your story matters, and you are not alone. In short, All Boys Aren't Blue is more than just a book. It's a mirror for some, a window for others, and a guide for anyone trying to better understand themselves or others. It's emotional, bold, and healing, a must-read in today's world. Clapperboard. So, there we are. We've journeyed through queerness in all its forms: lyrical, painful, defiant, romantic, and revolutionary. We've met characters who refuse to be boxed in, authors who broke literary and societal rules, and narratives that didn't tie themselves neatly in bows, because queerness often isn't neat. It's layered. It's lived. It's complex. These books didn't just introduce me to queer characters, they introduced me to queer questions. What does freedom really look like? What if gender isn't fixed? Can love be sacred outside of tradition? What if healing doesn't mean fitting in, but standing out? And in all these questions, I found more than just understanding. I found humility. A reminder that I don't know everything. That my view of the world, no matter how educated or woke I thought it was, had gaps. And queer literature filled those gaps, not with certainty, but with curiosity, humanity, and truth. If you've been watching this wondering, am I queer enough to read these? The answer is yes. If you've been thinking, but I'm straight, is this even for me? Then even more so, because these stories hold value for everyone willing to let go of certainty and step into someone else's truth. To question what you thought you knew, and open yourself to lives lived differently, and yet just as validly as your own. Books are more than stories. They're bridges. They connect us to lives we haven't lived. And queer books, in particular, have a unique power. They challenge what we've accepted as normal and show us the infinite ways of being that exist beyond societal expectations. Whether you've read all the titles I shared, or you're just beginning to explore queer literature, I hope this video leaves you with more than a reading list. I hope it leaves you with questions, with empathy, with a desire to keep learning, unlearning, and reimagining what you thought you understood. Because at the heart of queerness is transformation. Not just of identity, but of perception. And when we read with an open heart, we don't just change our minds. We change the world, one story at a time. So go ahead. Pick up one of these books. Sit with it. Let it disturb you, move you, awaken you. Don't just highlight the pretty quotes, wrestle with the difficult ones. Feel what it means to hold someone else's truth without judgment. That's what these books did for me. And maybe, just maybe, they'll do the same for you. Thanks for watching Beyond the Rainbow. Queer books that challenged my understanding. Don't forget to like, comment, and share which queer book changed your life. I'd love to know what stories opened your eyes, shook your heart, or made you feel seen for the first time. Until next time, keep questioning, keep reading, and keep living boldly, beautifully, beyond the rainbow.